Hello and welcome to the PhD Life Raft podcast. I'm Emma Brodzinski and today I am talking to myself. I just thought I'd give you a little bit of a background on why I'm doing what I'm doing, and also to talk to you about my current passion, which is the PhD Life Raft Summit. So I'm going to tell you a bit about my story, including my very embarrassing interface with a telemarketer. And also just to remind you that you are not on your own. So I do hope you enjoy this episode. Hello, it's just you and me this week. I just thought I'd do something a bit different because we're building up to the PhD Life Raft Summit, which I am super excited about. And hopefully I'm going to be meeting a lot of you there. And I thought I would talk then a little bit about me, because I interview lots of people and talk about their PhD stories, but I realised I hadn't really said very much about my own and why I do the work I do. So I thought I would do that this week, if you would indulge me in that. To introduce myself, as I do at the beginning with everybody, my story is I was the first in my family to go to university. Super excited to go off and study. Always loved studying and reading, and my subject is theatre. Absolutely passionate about that. Absolutely loved my undergrad degree, and didn't really think it would go beyond that kind of academically. Indeed, one of my lovely A-level tutors said that I wasn't naturally academic. So I just decided to do a degree that I loved, and then at least I'd be able to do that for 3 years and then really enjoy that and then see what happened next. But in my final year of my undergrad, my gorgeous tutor, who I still think of as my academic mum, Jerry Harris, I love you, she said to me, she said, had I thought about doing an MA, which I hadn't thought about doing. And so she talked to me about it, and I just thought, well, this would be brilliant. This would be amazing. I could, carry on studying. How fantastic would that be? And so I applied for the MA. I got a place, and I'd also applied for funding. And was told I had kind of good chance of getting funding. So that was very exciting. I was looking forward to going off to study. And then unfortunately, even though I'd got the first and all the things I needed to get, I didn't get the funding. So I was quite disappointed, but I went and got a job, or a few jobs. I was working in a theatre company. I was doing some teaching. But I still kind of wanted to go back to the studying. And so I applied again to go back to Royal Holloway. That's where I'd applied initially for the Masters, and hadn't, obviously, because the funding hadn't gone. But then I'd applied again and was looking at doing a PhD, and then was advised that perhaps I should do a Masters in Research and then go on to the PhD. So that's what I did. I got into the Masters Research programme and then on to the PhD. Master Research I really loved, and then I went into the PhD, and I was also really kind of excited about the topic that I was going to do, and got into the PhD work. But then the PhD, and I've lived a life, people. I've had some very difficult things in my life, but the PhD was one of the toughest times. It's one of the times when I have been most concerned about my own mental health. I did a lot of crying. I used to regularly come out of supervisions and be in tears. I think one moment that particularly sticks with me was when I was at home working one day, and somebody rang to do, one of those telephone surveys where they, ask you about things. And I wanted to keep him talking. I wanted him to stay on the line and keep talking to me. And I realised I was, really, it was not good. I was not in a good way. And I needed to take myself in hand and get sorted out, which I did. And I put things in place. And so that went on from there. And indeed, after that work, ironically, my PhD ended up being on suffering. And then after I'd finished that work, I then went to train as a therapist. And because of my own experience, because of me working as an academic, but then also having that therapy training, that's then what's led me into being sort of concerned about postgrads mental health and that process and looking after yourself, and feeling like there needs to be support there, and particular resources for postgrads. I think undergrad mental health is getting better now in terms of support and recognition of support, but postgraduates have particular challenges, and that we need to attend to that. So that is why I do what I do. This then ultimately, because I've then delivered a range of workshops, worked with Techno, worked with some fantastic people along the way, and ultimately have ended up doing this podcast, which I love. And the podcast came across about because I was doing this work and I was seeing that it was people were finding it really helpful, and I wanted to sort of make it more generally available. And I thought the podcast would be a brilliant vehicle for that, which I think it is, and it's gorgeous. But the bit that I think is sort of missing from the podcast is having that connection, that one-to-one support, because that was something that I really, obviously, because of me moment with the telephone man, I really needed that. I really needed the sense of being able to talk to people and having people in real live time, which is why I wanted to extend this work and do the summit, because I wanted to have the opportunity to be with other people. I love the podcast, and I keep pinching myself that this is what I get to do, talking to these gorgeous people about things that I'm really passionate about, and then getting messages from you about the fact that it's useful and all that. It just blows my mind. But I knew that we could kind of take it further, and that's why I wanted to do something and to do the summit. So what I've done with the summit is to invite some lovely people back who've been on the podcast, and to talk to me in a live session, so that people can come and these really smart, wise people can talk about what they do and give advice and tips and strategies, but also people can then ask their own questions, because I think that's really important to get that kind of bespoke information. So there's going to be the opportunity to do that. There's also going to be co-working sessions where people can come together and work. I also have got this wild idea that I want to try and do a sort of speed dating event, PhD speed dating. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to give it a go. So that's going to be part of this. Speed dating, as in finding people who you can kind of connect with around your subject or methodology, so that you've got someone there to sort of support you and cheer you on. And then over the course of the summit, there's going to be it's 5 days. So there's an intro day and a closing day, but there's also the theme 3 middle days. It should be relationship day is the Tuesday. And we're thinking about in that there'll be sessions on kind of relationship with your supervisor, but also your relationship with yourself, which I think is so fundamental on the PhD journey. And certainly for me, it was a really tough journey, but also I learned a lot about myself and I changed a lot. It was a difficult time, but I did come out the other end a different person, and ultimately a much stronger person. I just think I went round it the long way, and I don't want that for you. I want you to be able to kind of to get through it in an easier way. So Tuesdays is relationship day. Wednesday's writing day. So really kind of getting into it, the particular challenges of writing and obstacles in writing, but also sessions on more generally the writing process and what that is about and how to set up a good writing process for yourself. So that's a Wednesday. And then on the Thursday is productivity day. So thinking about goal setting, that's always kind of tricky. Well, for me, this sense of kind of setting myself up. I'm totally over ambitious and I'm a chronic overscheduler, and then beat myself up because I don't meet that. But so this sense of kind of thinking about how to be sensible about setting goals, lots of things that I have learned out of that process, and we've got fabulous people coming to talk about that. And then also the kind of the project management of the PhD, more generally, that kind of meta understanding of the PhD. So each day there were going to be these kind of Q&A sessions, where there'll be a daily check-in with me. This is what I'm really excited about in terms of getting to meet people, say hello, see what's coming up, see what people want to talk about. Then there'll be these sessions throughout the day, which we will have Q&A sessions. We will have co-working sessions, and we will also have holistic practices. Each day will be a holistic practice to support your PhD. So we've got yoga, we've got journaling, we've got mindfulness. So a sense of what can you do to support yourself. And then, as I say, a couple of extra wildcard sessions too. So that's what it's going to look like. And I'm really looking forward to this. I am so excited. It's been a long time in the making, and I really hope you can come and join us. I'm aware that I always very unkindly on the podcast ask people for a top tip. And I was thinking as I was going to record this, like, what would your top tip be, Emma, for people? And I realised just how unfair this question really is, because there's so much that I want to say and communicate. And I guess that's why I have a podcast, because I can then just chat on to you every week. But I think fundamentally the most important thing, I think, is to remember that you're not alone. You are not on your own. There are lots of other people going through this at the same time as you and having similar experiences. It is not just you. There's kind of systemic things going on, the process itself. You are not on your own. And also there are lots of really smart, switched on, compassionate people who are so willing to help you, to step in and help you. And this sense of that we are all here. Like, I am totally here. I am totally on your team. And so I really hope that you remember that on those really tricky days. Remember that it isn't just you, and you can reach out and get the support that you need. So yeah, so that was a little bit about me. I really hope you do come and join us. It doesn't matter if you come for one session or all of them. You're welcome, because I know people are really busy, and I've tried to set it up so that you can. Everything's available on replay for 48 hours, so that you can check in with the sessions that you think will be useful. But if you sign up, you will get all the emails which will tell you what's coming up, so that you can choose what works for you. So I'm really looking forward to meeting you. Thank you so much for being part of this community, and thank you for listening.